Yo, GM, how's everybody doing today? 0xRapture with you on this Thursday afternoon. If someone can give me a little bit of feedback on whether the mic volume is good, and we'll get this show underway. Looks like a little bit of blood on the majors again. Always fun. We hear you. Okay, perfect. Mic is okay. All right. Again, my name is 0xRapture. Welcome to another episode of Astrology for Men, where we take chart requests, look at the market, give my feedback and insights, run through some processes and systems and techniques. Today, we're going to try and just mostly push through on these chart requests. I had a few pile up, and I want to be able to get through them all. So it'll be a little less specifically on walking through the overall technique, but I will walk through the steps as we're going through them. I've got a decent list of requests, about 20 or so, somewhere from a few days ago, so they may be a little less relevant now, but we'll take a look. We'll see how things are looking. Pull up the, okay. So this is, let's make this larger, and yeah. So this is the watch list or the request list that I have from the last couple days. So we'll just try and bang through all of these and see how things are looking. Right now, BTC taking a bit of a nosedive down below 57K. Maybe I'll pull that up real quick so we can take a look and see. 1 second. Here we go. Yeah. So, I mean, we're getting a bit of follow through from some overhead supply on majors. Initially on BTC was kind of watching, it's a common technique of watching the Monday range, and which was this candle here. It sort of took out the high and then it traded to the low, but now we're trading well below that and seeing a little bit more carnage. ETH still within its Monday range, it looks like. Solana below the Monday range. I mean, you know, I don't typically focus on majors. I just look at them as a barometer for the overall health of the market. But yeah, things have sort of, I mean, I've popped this chart up usually at the beginning of every stream, and we came up into this area. Now we're seeing follow through. Came up into this area on ETH, little follow through. Solana came up in here. I mean, it's almost perfect. These tags into supply and then the move afterward. So what that kind of says to me is that, yes, we, you know, hopefully on BTC, this was the low, but that the overall trend is still in a little bit of a downtrend. So who knows? Maybe we're finding a bottom around here, but we're not going to sit and focus on this too much. Let's take a look and see who's in the chat today. We got 8 people with us at the moment. Looks like we got Rat Division, GM, Power Naps. Good to see you, buddy. You've been here, I think, for pretty much every stream, so I appreciate you. GM. Got Dan, Gulshan, Jaguar Cat. A fun name. Peon. Some people that I recognize from the TG, as well as some people I recognize from the ChainEDGE Discord. Appreciate you guys for showing up. And also want to say a big shout out to the Daily Edge, who we put these shows on with, which is our daily newsletter, thedailyedge.com. Here we go, thedailyedge.com/subscribe, where you can get your daily dose of degen intel to your inbox. Newsletters written by a buddy of mine, Onchain Wizard, just an OG Chad that has a real solid take on the markets and on trends, and we utilize the ChainEDGE data as part of that, and ChainEDGE is his brainchild. If anyone knows, look at the data and use the tool, it's him. So if you want some free insights into his thought process, then I would suggest subscribing to the newsletter. The show is also put on under the Daily Edge banner. And also have to do these obligatory things, but like, subscribe, and comment if you enjoy what we do. It's always funny when you're on the other side of the screen putting these things up, but they are important and they help. Okay, so let me pull this screen down and let's bring up the watch list again. There we go. Okay, so we're just going to start getting through these, and we'll start top down. How you have them sorted by volume. Seems like a good way to go. I do like looking at volume quite a bit, especially as a discovery tool. Let me bring this banner down so that it's out of the way. But I guess not. There we go. And I will also move my PFP out of the way. Okay, secretly, I am Monsieur. Oh, okay. Monsieur Fromage 3 secretly, says Rat Division. Secretly. Okay. So let's just start at the top here and we'll start banging through these. So we've got here Atsuko Sato. How old is this coin? It's almost 2 days old. So I think we can probably start somewhere around age 4. Let's take a look. See what we've got here. Okay. Immediately this stands out to me here as a swing point on H4. There is H4 demand right in this area, which is clinging to the bottom of. Oh, looks like it's got that setting on that I really dislike. The grid, there we go. Pop that off. Okay, well, right away I can see that that swing point was important because it closed below and then rejected right off of it. So it needs to sort of find support here. On hourly, okay. So hourly, here's your range. Bottom of your range is here. And top of your range is here. If this is going to have another leg up, I mean, your risk reward doesn't get any better than right here. You're at the bottom of the range on both. Well, on hourly, H4 doesn't really have it doesn't have a swing low point there. So your bottom of your range is technically down here, but that's a long way off. So it looks like I mean, bulls need to step in here. Well, a little bit of a reaction there so far. Let's throw the fib up and see where we're at because, I mean, it's a meme coin. So, okay, so we're underneath the pocket right now, showing some rejection off the pocket as well. You got your 786 a little bit lower. So, I mean, this could very well just come down and tag this before finding its floor and moving up. So that's another area that I'd monitor. Looks to be selling off. I mean, we're sort of at a moment right now where the market, the majors are kind of dictating a bit of the show right now. And people may be thinking, okay, I want to be risk off here, especially on these newer coins if they're showing weakness. If this can manage to close within this box, I mean, this is a good risk reward right here. Again, I could see it coming down into the 786 for a quick tag if it's gonna do that, or it'll hold here. That's what I would look for. Other than that, I mean, if this closes as a sweep, you guys know that I've talked about before on the streams. If the sweep is counter trend, since we're in a bullish uptrend, bottom of the range, I would look for a sweep to be a bit of signal that it wants to go, maybe not back to all-time highs. Who knows? Because 50 million is quite a ways away from here. I mean, we're about 70% or so below. Let's get an exact where we're at right now. Yeah, we're currently at 72% below the all-time high. Pretty standard pullback for a meme coin, to be honest with you. Again, I could see it coming down to 786, but let's leave that there and we'll come back a little bit later and see how it's doing. Mog coin had a couple of requests for this. Much larger market cap. Okay, so this is analysis that I've had marked out for a little while. Maybe what I'll do is okay, since it's a It's got enough chart history. I mean, you can go into your weekly, even into monthly. Okay, so right away on monthly, interesting. You got your monthly demand right here, showing a reaction. It's positive. Why did that? Oh, okay. There we go. Monthly demand. We can see it sort of overlaps with weekly demand. Now I had drawn this out probably a couple weeks ago, so this might need to be updated, because what I can see here is that actually this weekly demand is getting lost, this one here, and you're starting to get the potential for a close below. It's a bit of an interesting place because we have overlapping signal. And I mean, you guys know, as I always say, the higher the time frame, the cleaner the signal, or the stronger the signal. So the monthly demand here, and as you know, we can see it already tagged it once and gave quite a good reaction. So there's a level of expectation that you could think, okay, it would at least bounce here, which it's doing. Whether it's going to get a 255% move again, I don't know. But reasonable expectation of a bounce. Now, starting to look weak here. This is, I mean, it's a larger cap, and I'm pretty sure you can trade perps on this on some sex exchanges. So, you know, this first signs of risk off and things like these, things like this usually get hit harder than strictly on chain, just by the very nature of people being able to either with larger capital pull their capital out or potentially short it. I don't know what exchange has this listed. I do know it's listed on a few, and whether they have shorts on it for perps or not is another question. So that's something I'd monitor there. Let's take a look at daily. I mean, if it loses this weekly demand, then all of a sudden you're starting to get overhead supply, which wouldn't be great. So what you want is this. I mean, we're still early in the week, Thursday. Still has 3 more days after today till the weekly close. So if this closes as a sweep on weekly right here, I mean, I'd take a punt on that. It's larger cap, decent liquidity. I mean, larger liquidity pool, and it's going to maintain attention. You can also use this as a barometer for the overall culture coin sector or meta. And to be honest with you, if we were going to look at this chart at some of the other culture coins, they look a lot similar. I mean, some are in worse shape than others, and we'll get to some of those. Let's pop down to daily. So on daily, I mean, so at one point, like, this was a higher high, tagged that demand and then went up, but we've actually lost all of that. So let's reassess where we're at on daily, because here you had a lower low. I mean, it's textbook what's happened here. You had a lower low after a close below here on this day here, ran up into supply and then sold off. So let's take a look. And now we've had, since then, almost textbook. Like, here's the thing. It's a coin that trades on sexes, and sex traders, not all of them, there's a lot of really bad sex traders, but the good traders, these are really signal and triggers that are honored a lot better, or a lot more reliably. Not that they're not reliable on chain, but we can see how clean that is. Whereas on chain, you might get something up into here before, or even all the way up to that swing point before that happens. So here's your daily range. I mean, look, we've got even a daily close below this swing point. So, but that was a weekly level. Let's keep that in mind. That was a weekly level. So let me change that color so that we know that was a weekly level, gray. I usually do weeklies in a different color, and monthlies, monthly and weekly usually similar color. So, you know, we can still bounce around this and close above, and we're looking good on a weekly time frame. But on daily, I mean, the daily range comes all the way down to here. Now, this was a big, if I recall correctly, that was a big sell that occurred that day that caused that wick, like a massive clip out. Trouble I see with this on, oh, actually, hold on. So here we have, so there was a swing point there before this low. So that is kind of interesting. It's a little bit of conflicting signal. So I would take the weekly off, take the weekly as more of a reliable, the weekly and monthly here, because what happened, you had this sell off. This was actually the high that created the low, and you got to close above here, but it ran right up into this overhead supply. So there is some conflicting signal on here, which is kind of what the market is right now. It's a lot of confliction, right? People are like, oh, are we bullish? Are we bearish? Where are we at in the cycle? What's going to happen right now? I mean, just keep in mind we're in summer, and summer tends to be slower. People are on holidays, especially now we're in the dog days of summer, or the dog days of bummer, as I titled the episode. So that's something to keep in mind, that we just may deal with a lot of this indecision for the next couple of weeks. US has had positive economic data. So the fact that we've been weak into that, I don't really know how to read that at the moment. But this chart in particular, it's chop, because we're having lower lows, higher highs. What are we going to do here? If I was looking for daily demand here, let me just clean this up. Just get rid of all that and just give you just what I see right now on daily. So there was a higher high, which means your range on daily right now. This is your daily range that you're working within. This was the low that created the high that broke the higher high. And the trouble is, as a demand zone, for the way that I view them and the way that I draw them and that way that my system works, it's a very large demand area, right? Like you have a demand here, but that wasn't the swing low that created the high, because I can take a look here. Look, those swing points, that one's above this one, so it's not actually a swing low, because what's a swing is a 3-candle pattern with a high, a low, a high for a swing low, or a low, a high, a low for a swing high. So that's not actually the swing point. It's down all the way down here. So how do we sort of, well, since it's daily and currently going on the down path within the daily range, I'd switch to either H4 or hourly as we get down into here and start to look for signs of a higher high. And then you just enter on the retest. So you like, look, H1, downtrend. The swing high was up here. Now we're putting in a new fresh H1 lower low. So I would just monitor that. I wouldn't go M15 because that's a lot of noise on a coin like this. Hourly is really the lowest I'd go, but preferably H4. Now, if this creates a swing high with a lower low for H4, then you would look for a reclaim of that. Because right now the reclaim for H4 is up here, depending on how this closes. If this is just a sweep, then you'd look for that as the range. So that's what I'd look for. We'll come back to this. Let's keep it moving. BTW, banana tape wall, had been a strong coin. It ranged and chopped for a while before coming down and finally tagging this demand that I have had drawn out for ever since it made this. So what day was this? Oh, almost a week ago. Wow. Okay. How old is this token by now? It's 11 days old. It's almost a two-week-old token. So it's kind of getting to that place where it's falling out of the attention window for the market, especially for Solana. But they do have good marketing and good stunts. And the meme is memeable. I mean, I think even the other day, yesterday, Nike put out a tweet with a yellow shoe taped to the wall. So obviously reading the culture and understanding that it's a hot meme at the moment in general, and not just specifically to crypto. So I've been waiting for this to come down and tag. It tagged while I was sleeping, and I didn't have a limit set for it. It gave a decent reaction so far on the initial tag. It gave almost a 2x, a little under. But now we're just sort of dealing with chop. It is holding this area. Now remember, this is your range, right? Oh, so on this chart, it looks a little bit different than it does on my photon chart, because that didn't actually create a new high on photon. But here, It did on H4. So let's take a look at daily. What does daily look like? Okay. I really dislike how these things misalign on different time frames. So let's just clean this up. Let's start fresh. So what do I see on daily? So here's that swing high point. Almost came right into it. I think on H12 it actually tagged it, or on H4 perhaps. Yeah, H4 it tagged it. But what I see on H12, not on daily, because there isn't a swing down there. So daily is still bullish. You have this whole area here that's demand. Even though that closed above there, there was no swing that did that other than the swing from the original swing up. So we'll leave that demand drawn for daily. H12 is a different story. Look at what we have here. It was the low, or even this could technically be the swing low on it. That created a high, breaking the higher high. And then what happened? So H12 and below, we've broken market structure. Interesting. And now you can see it ran back up into that and tagged this sort of supply area and rejected. But the daily is still bullish. So I would take the higher time frame as more of the signal. It just needs to work through this chop. I mean, there's a lot of people that bought this that are underwater, but then there's also a lot of people that bought this that are probably above, like in profit. Well, I'm sure there's people still in profit on it. That may try and support this area for it to go higher. I think if it stabs down lower into here, it's not a bad idea to take a trade. If you're already in the coin, where would you cut? I mean, I'd be watching this swing level. It's tough because you're so close to this demand on the higher time frame. I think if you're in this and you get a bounce up into here, you'd maybe monitor what happens to see for continuation. Like, does it just come up into here and sell off? Or is it going to go up back for the highs? It's in a bit of an interesting place. I would say still bullish given that it's held for so long. Very few Solana coins can range for that long. And it finally came down and tagged demand and has shown a level of response. I would just be aware overall of what the market wants to do. But this is one of the better looking coins right now. Let's move along. Giga Chad put in a new all-time high today even. I mean, that's a bullish chart. I think this is probably the best looking chart for meme coins at the moment. And the fact through the sort of doldrums and boredom and time capitulation in the trenches, you know, like group chats have been ghost towns, and trying to trade new launches has been a bit of a nightmare. This has shown extreme strength. I mean, it's had 1, 2, 3, 4. We're on our 5th day in a row of a green candle, while the rest of the market's just sort of like slow bleeding out. So that's really notable. You can see how this level has been really important. So I would think, so now this, let's just draw up our demand. Here's your daily demand. Here was your high break right there, right? Swing high to low, broke through that high to make a higher high. So here's the higher high breakout level, which also coincides with the previous all-time high. So I would look for any tag either into the previous all-time high level or into this demand to hold. Pretty good chance it will. Pretty good chance it will. I mean, even look at, I don't typically look at volume, but like look at the volume spikes it's getting as it's gone up there. So, you know, it's a positive sign. Oh, apologies. And for anyone, if like those alarms go off every once in a while, I have actually every H4 candle, every H4 close, I have an alarm go off just so I can monitor certain things if I'm in certain trades that I know, okay, I want to take a look at what's going on, which I find really useful. I have the New York open as an alarm. I have every H4 candle close or open as an alarm, as well as the daily close open, but that's also an H4 time. So yeah, really strong. If you're in this, congratulations, because it's a market leader at the moment. If you're not in this and you're looking to get on board, those are the areas I'd look for. And it could come down as low. Like here's the range low on the daily. It could come down as low as there, but typically when you get a break through previous all-time high, you don't want it coming back below, or very briefly, like on very low time frame, like hourly at most with closes, because usually a level that important, you don't want to lose it. You don't want this to just be a deviation and close back below, and then what? We have the bottom of the range again. So that's what I'd look for. Moving along, Dawg has also been a strong one. Now that I'm looking at it now, it's not looking too hot. I think last stream that it was a chart request. So 2 streams ago, we talked about this area here, and look what happened. You had H4 demand, higher. When it broke above there, came into this demand. It sort of hung out for a while, but then went on and created a new all-time high. And now this is what I was just talking about on GigaChad. I mean, this is a lower market cap and a newer coin, but you don't want to start seeing closes back within that level, because you can see even here, it closed right. And I bet if I put it on daily, it'll line. So there it is. So what's important about that? And I've talked about sweeps before. You had your previous all-time high. Daily, it swept, which is, daily, as I say, the higher the time frame, the cleaner the signal. Daily swept and then sold off, right? It pumped up into it again. Like, you have to remember, on daily time frame, you're going to get another wick, right? Like, think about any chart you look at. For the most part, on a high, you're getting a wick or 2, maybe 3, right? It's the same thing for on-chain shitcoins. I mean, it's all the same principles, because it's all psychology, right? So you got here, people are like, oh, okay, I didn't sell the high last time, but we're all the way here, and I'm not big from down here. Let's sell into that. Well, and then you got the follow through. I'm sorry, these lines are confusing here, but so just from an H12 perspective, and it's always good to go back and look at things and see how the analysis unfolded, because that unfolded quite well. So here's your demand on H12. Why is that the demand? And why is that the bottom? Well, because that was the swing low. Yes, you could put demand here, but I find typically, especially for on-chain, that unless there's a swing low involved, that's not really the true demand, because on-chain has a real good track record of retesting the bottom of the range, which is why I did last stream, I outlined how I draw my demand zones and supply zones. Really good episode, the last one. It wasn't a chart request for show at all. It was just more of a technical show, a class in session episode. I would highly recommend to anyone that wants to follow along and learn how I trade and my system and how I view things, to watch that one. It's a bit longer. It was almost 3 hours, but the entire thing is packed with useful information. And it's all, repetitive. I keep saying that every time, but we're going to repeat these things every time we're doing one of these shows, one of these streams, because it's just part of the day-to-day. Okay, so H12 has not broken range on H12. Yes, it's swept below, but as I've said, we can do that. It's whether or not you get candle body closes below. So H12 still looking bullish. If we pop down to H4, yeah, we're still bullish here. Now H4, it has broken structure right here. You got to close below, but the higher time frame is bullish. So what I'm expecting is a bounce here, and at least a bounce up until this H4 supply that's been created now, and see what happens there. But at the moment, still bullish. Still a bullish looking chart. I just don't know if, so many times for tokens, they have their all-time high, come back down in range, break the all-time high, and then come back down. So that's something I'd be aware of, and I'd definitely be aware of what happens if it comes back down here, because you don't want it getting those closes below, because then it starts looking pretty shit. You can throw the fib up too, take a look and see what's going on there. So it tagged the pocket. A nice stab into it with a positive reaction. So there's a little bit of confluence of what you would have looked for when it was coming down here. You'd be like, okay, we've got H12 demand and the golden pocket. There's a better than 50% chance that it's going to bounce here, given high volume. Doesn't look like it's the type of token that's going to rug, other than, if a deb decides to start out selling or whatnot. But, this was a good one. I'd just monitor that. Keep it moving along. Unicorn. Ooh. So this has been an airdrop token to a platform where you can trade emojis, which is kind of fun. I've seen a lot of people talk about it. Right now it's into H4 demand. Let's break this down. Let's remove the drawings. So we can see it had this massive, this is just people claiming the airdrop and selling immediately, right? And how much pain for them to see it rise like that. We've been in an environment where selling airdrops pretty much day one has been not a bad strategy. This is going against trend for that. So interesting to note. So here's your H4 demand. Let's just take a look. Do we have daily? Yep. So even daily, it broke above that. So that's pretty good signal. Excuse me. It's also H12 demand that we're into. Now we're seeing some weakness now. The thing about it is, like, you need to bridge these tokens into a Cosmos chain, the unicorn chain, and then you can trade these emojis. And they've been doing pretty well from what I've seen. The thing is, it's once the music stops and people are like, oh shit, I want to get my capital out of this chain, what happens? But I would be looking, let's draw out the range. Swing low, swing high. It actually gave decent signal when it got to that high on H4 that, okay, maybe I want to sell because it had a sweep, another sweep, close, and all those closes were below that level. So I would be looking for the bottom of this to hold. If you're looking to get in, you can start, it's Solana, so you can scale in because the fees are so low. So, I mean, that said, even on ETH right now, it's cheap enough to scale in. So you can start scaling in here. The closer you get to the bottom of here, the better, because your risk reward is very clearly defined. This level here, the 16 million level that I actually believe I talked about on stream either last time or the time before, clearly very important as the previous all-time high level. If it starts closing below that, it could be a sign, though, that maybe this demand isn't going to hold. And it looks like that one did close below. We'll see. It's still on the demand, so perfectly acceptable. I'd start looking for, okay, so on hourly, you actually got an hourly higher high. And it's in danger of losing that hourly demand. Now that's fine. It can do that. It's still within the larger uptrend. Like, you can have counter trends and with trend and counter trend on lower time frames before it finds the actual bottom. But that's what I'd monitor. Throw up the fib real quick. See what we're looking at. Okay, so a tag pocket. There is also another H4 demand down here, right aligned with the 786. So something I'd be aware of. If I'm like, okay, if I bought here and then it slices through, what you might do to lessen losses and improve potential profit is scale in again down here. And then when you get up here, you maybe do risk a little bit to at least be back to break even and see what happens. That's a strategy that, quite a good strategy, because you just don't know what's going to happen to this. I see that, just taking a glance over, I can see that the majors are continuing their blood. So, it may take it may take some of these players with it for the short term. Let's move along. Kobe, this had been a good one. And I think someone in the Telegram asked for analysis on it. And what I had drawn, I might have even done this on the last stream. I drew this fair value. Yes, I did, because I remember talking about this. I drew this fair value gap, and I said this might hold as demand, or it might come all the way down to the H4 demand down here near the bottom of the range. And you can see this fair value gap held for a time, but then it came down all the way down to the actual demand, and then flipped that fair value gap and turned it into support. Now, what I can see here is, did that sweep or close? So it closed above. Okay, so you got a higher high right here with this candle. It closed above that swing point. So now what I would be doing is looking for this to form a higher low, which it already seems to be doing. So that's a positive. Mark out the range. So this could see continuation. Let's put one of these here so we have the line marked out. You could see continuation from here. That's what you'd be looking for, is the higher low somewhere in here, and then back to the top. And then I would see what happens up there. There's always another chance that, because this is still your main range, before it makes a higher high, like you could trade up into here and then come back down here again. And that might be a good punt, because it's already shown strong reaction, meaning came down here. Buyers were like, well, this is discounted. I want to get on board. And then it's sent. So in its immediate future, I would be looking for the higher low here with aims back to the high and see what happens there. If it starts losing this, then I would look in here again. Keep it moving. Smoking chicken fish. I gotta say, and this is what I had said not last stream. I might have talked about it last stream, but definitely the time before. I was like, okay, when it gets to the bottom of the range here, worth a punt to see what happens. And if it starts closing below, you get out. Now we're starting to get that close below. It's been trying to hold it, but it's starting to get that close below. And overall, I just don't really see this token talked about too much on the timeline anymore. I think attention has shifted quite a bit. Let's take a look on H12. So it's been, you can see how important that swing level's been. Let's take a look. Any questions? Okay. PowerNaps asked if I could show a low time frame entry plan for Kobe. I bought and fumbled before it reversed near the lows. Low time frame entry. Okay, let me finish this and we'll swing back. Let me finish this one and we'll swing back. So H4, I mean, you've been getting those closes below. The only problem is the swing level on H4 is misaligned on deck screener. So you're still holding that H4 low, which is a little misleading. And I really dislike that on-chain charts so often time frames misalign like that, but just is what it is, part of the game. So, 4-hour traders are watching that level down there, bounce. If it closes below this on H4, which is in danger of, then I would say the likelihood the daily closes below the other level is quite high. Is this worth a punt here for going to the high? I think at this point, because it's flirted with this level so much, I would actually just wait to see what the close looks like. Because if it closes below, it's not looking great. And what time is it right now? You got 4 hours, 3 hours and 45 minutes until the daily close. I would just wait. I wouldn't punt here. I would see what the market does, and then if it closes above, then you take another punt with your risk defined underneath this level, actually. Not really much has changed on this one other than continued weakness. It hasn't just nuked altogether. So, perhaps the cult is still a level of strength there, but we'll see. Okay, Goo, Chinese for dog is what I've gathered on this one. I think it's launched yesterday, almost 2 days ago now. I'd seen some people, some friends talking about it in some chats. After doing some digging, though, it became apparent that this one was launched by serial devs. And when I got up here, now it's interesting because on Photon, actually, this was just a sweep. Actually, maybe at H12 it is. On Photon, the H4 was a sweep. This actually closed below. So this gave a conflicting signal on Deck Screener, which is why I don't typically do my charting on Deck Screener, but I know it's it's one of the most popular places. Just here's the thing, when people are trading these things, you're usually looking at the chart in the terminal and not at the chart on Deck Screener. Unless you're trading off of a Telegram bot, and then, maybe more likely to be trading off this. But given how popular terminals are now, like Photon and Bullx, et cetera, they were probably watching that chart and saw that it closed as a sweep. And then but like I said, I had also heard some information that this was a serial dev team. So H4 got a very solid close below here because that was your swing point. I just wouldn't even touch this, to be honest with you. I think there's better coins to play, and given that we're in this weird state of the market right now where new launches are maybe lasting a day or so, if that. I mean, ETH had been pretty good for a while, and then all of a sudden the last 72 hours or so, it's gotten pretty shit. And you'll get that pump, and then it's a dump. Like, that's exactly what that looks like to me. Pump and dump. They took their time because for the longest time, it had just been ranging, right? Like, this was its range. It had been ranging in here for a while. Actually, I think I was monitoring on M15 yesterday, and it was just ranging, and then it finally started to close above. And I saw everybody start to get bullish, which, fair enough. But then you started getting your M15 closes below here. Lower low, underside retag, sell off, lower low, underside retag into supply, sell off, underside tag into supply, sell off. I would just avoid this. If you're in this, how many more bounces does it have in it before they just go, well, fuck that, let's just pull all the liquidity? I don't know. If you're in this, I guess you would be thinking, okay, if I'm trying to get out of this, try and sell into that level. I just don't even know if it can make it there, to be honest with you. And this is one of those moments where having really quality group chats where you can lean into other people for their areas of expertise and their level of on-chain sleuthing is very beneficial. Because when someone pointed out to me that there was a serial dev team behind it, that they may have had one or two good launches, but overall they're just shit, then I was like, well, I think I'll just preserve my capital. Now, yes, there was a trade to be had here. Like, look, closed above there on M15, you had a M15 demand tag here for a trade, and a good trade at that. But with those, you're sort of running against the clock. And is it worth not knowing when that's going to happen? On-chain is complicated. Okay, had some requests for Billy. I'm pretty sure I drew this out last stream, and now we can see. So it closed below on daily here, made a new lower low. I saw a lot of people, not a lot, but some people talking about there's a lot of demand over here and people waiting to step in and buy. Possibly, but for me personally, I just watch what the market tells me, what the chart tells me. And daily lower low came back up into this overhead supply, tag supply, and is now getting follow through on the sell-off. What I would watch here, if you're looking to enter this coin, I wouldn't enter right now. If you're looking to enter this coin, I would see what happens when it gets down here, and it could be worth a punt, because at some point, this coin could potentially turn around. There's enough attention on it. I think it's still hitting pretty high in the attention dashboard on ChainEDGE. And people are talking about it. I have some friends that put in some bids on this over the last couple of days. which is a little bit tough because when I see what the chart's telling me, I don't want to tell them, like, it's a fine line between pointing something out and sounding bearish to people. So, I'll point something out once, and then after that, to each person's risk level tolerance and their investment decision. So, if I were looking to get on board this, I'd wait to see what happens down here. Sweep of that, maybe it's worth the punt because then maybe it'll get the momentum to go. I mean, this was a fairly strong reaction candle, but it had closed below. So even though it was a fair, strong reaction and a mean reversion play, look at what's happening. Right into overhead supply. Right into overhead supply and selling off. So I'd see what happens around here. Two places I'd look to get on board is a sweep of this. Sweep of this low could be, your risk reward's pretty good because your risk is defined. Or a daily close above this level here, which regains bullish structure. So if it does something where, well, I'm not going to draw it because the drawing tool is a pain in the butt on this. But if you get a close above here, I would then look to buy the higher low somewhere in here. For now, it's in no man's land. And, if you're trading off of a thesis that this is going to go back up, then sure. But this is just a technical show, and we don't do that. The thesis is what the chart is telling us. Okay, I'm going to swoop back to the Kobe question about low time frame entry, and then we'll come back to what was after Billy. So he had a follow-up. PowerNaps had a follow-up question, like how you would have played the demand zone it came from. So I guess what you mean by that is switch to low time frame and see what happened down here. So it's only H4, so we could probably go M15. Okay, there it was right there. Sorry, no, we're over here. Over here. So it came down, right? Like this is your demand down here. Switch to M15. What do I see? So this was the high that created the low, the lower low. You got to close above right there, right? There's your M15 trigger that maybe this thing's got a more bullish skew, wants to go higher. Now, it was tough because you had to sweep all the way down, but it never lost this demand right here. Let's see. There we go, right? I mean, it's tiny looking here, but that was your trigger, right? You got the close above, came into demand. You had a while, right? Like you had 1:15 until 4 p.m. So you had like 3 hours, 4:15, 3 hours to get on board this thing in this demand. And the fact that it was bouncing off this, your risk reward was probably pretty good to say, okay, it keeps bouncing here. I think it's going to bounce higher. Now you did have that stab below, but that probably happened pretty quickly. Like let's look on a minute chart. I don't recommend minute charts for something with this much history. And for this very reason, right? Like on the 1 minute chart, that looks pretty weak, but on higher time frames. But that happened pretty quickly. So, even on M5, I doubt it lasted very long. Yeah. So again, when I say higher time frame is better signal, once you get into a chart with that much history, anything below, so on H4, anything below M15 is pretty noisy. On H12, anything below H1 is pretty noisy. On daily, anything below H4 gets pretty noisy. Like you'll get those violent swings and wicks, and you don't want to get shaken out of your conviction. So just zoom out and watch the higher time frame candle. Like you got here, you had your H4 trigger. You're looking for a lower time frame trigger to enter the trade. That was your confirmation you wanted to go higher. Yes, it wicked here, but as you can see, held that demand. It never closed below. And that was probably the best signal of it, was because it closed above here. So then you just try and catch that. So that's how I would have caught that PowerNaps. Does that make sense? Okay. So let's move along. We'll quickly review all of them at the end of the streams just to see where things are ending up. We did Billy. Let's go on to Get in the Cat. I had a request for. And once again, appreciate all you guys that are here. We've got 9 of you watching live. That's pretty good for a middle of a Thursday on a bloody day as it is. I do appreciate you guys. I really do. Just want to take a look and see if in the Telegram there's any questions. Had one person say, mate, how do you pick up such impeccable timing to do streams when market decides to dump? I don't know. And I don't want that to become a recurring thing, but it so far has been. You know what? Maybe psychologically for me, when I see that happening, I just want to sort of step in and, give a little bit of reassurance or guidance. I know, in the past I'd been more of a lone wolf. I'm not anymore. I have some really great lads that I'm in some group chats with that that are really solid individuals that I love talking to on a daily basis. And you develop these bonds and whatnot. But I do remember being a lone wolf, and these types of streams would be what helped me get through these moments. I don't really look at red on the majors anymore and really concern myself or get too worried with a long enough time frame. But yeah, so far we've managed to nail the bloody markets with timing for these streams. Also, someone just asked for Michi. I'll try and get to it. I'll add it to the list. I want to get through what I've been working through here. I can probably get to it. Where are we at? Okay, we're just under an hour. We're about halfway. Yeah, we're about halfway through the list. I think we can add it. Okay, let's speed this up. Get in. So, looks like it's come down into this 4-hour demand, tagged it, had a bit of a bounce, but a bit weak. I just wonder if this moment's passed. I guess maybe what I could look at as a proxy is how the Nero on ETH is doing, although those two ecosystems, excuse me, apologies for that. Although those two ecosystems do live mostly in isolation. Let's clean this up. Let's go. I bet we even have some weekly. Interesting. Not much there to go by. So daily. Huh. Another instance where I talk about on daily, you hit your all-time high again and you start seeing those sweeps, just sell. And if you're worried about catching the next move up, well, if you've managed to secure profits here, if it gets a close above here, you just look to re-enter. And yes, you miss a small portion of the profits or the move from there, but you're buying with added confidence or added confidence that it's going to continue higher, because these sweeps here are pretty telling, right? Like you see that. And how many times have we looked at charts and that's what's happened? There isn't really, like, yes, we have a daily demand here, but it isn't the high that below that created the high. This is just still within this range. So let's go on H12. H12 even got those sweeps. Did H12 manage to close above there? Let's zoom in. Let's take a look. It closed just above. Okay. Now you maybe see me do something like that and be like, well, how is zooming in that close important? Well, it is important to people that trade this style. And it's not like it's an uncommon style. It's, I have my own variations on it, but it is known version of analysis. So, important level there, as you can see. What I would say, if this thing is going to have another leg up, I wouldn't necessarily be buying right now. I would try to get as close into this demand as possible. If it doesn't come down there and it starts reversing on you, well, then if you get a close above here, because it's the high that created this low, if you get a close above here, then I would look for a retest. But buying right here, right now, it could go either way, right? It's like I talked about a few streams ago. You don't want to diddle in the middle. And this is pretty much, it's not quite the middle. It's lower portion of that, but I would much rather be buying in here than buying right here, or buying, if it closes above here, buying a higher low retest somewhere in here is going to be close enough to here that you're not missing too much of the meat of the move, because what you want to do is capture the majority of it. You don't have to catch the whole move. There's a misconception. I wouldn't say misconception, because those guys can do great. For people that just want to buy as low as they want to pull that hero trade and buy the absolute bottom. I mean, it's a pretty rare occurrence. Obviously, some people do it because someone has to be buying that level for it to go up. But if you buy with trend, you have a much higher probability of catching the meat of the move and not just a higher low. And we're still in uptrend here, but I would prefer it to be coming down into here. Let's see H4. The interesting thing about this, yes, there's demand-ish on the way, but there's no swing low till all the way at the bottom of this H12 range. Like if I take my tool here, because this was the high. That was a sweep right there on H4, but that was the ultimate high of the range. Now if I look going down, I don't actually have a swing low until all the way at the bottom of the H12 range, so not very helpful. We can take a look on H1, see, but H1 we definitely will have gone bearish structure on H1. Yeah, see. As soon as you broke this on H1, it was H1 bearish. Now you got some signs on H1. You did get an H1 higher high when it closed above this level here, because that was the high that created the low, creating a lower low on H1. You got to close above, but it's in danger of losing that. But that's fine on a higher time frame, right? Like we've talked about that. You can whipsaw back and forth on lower time frame before the higher time frame finds its low. So that's what I'd say about this is ideally you want it to come down into there. We can throw the fib up. Now this is a large range that, you know, you might even be tempted just to throw the fib off this one and see what you're looking at. So you've lost the pocket there. Hasn't quite touched 786. So I would think into the demand is likely or probable. And we extend the fib all the way to the beginning of the chart, similar story. It's holding the pocket right now, but given the demand lines up with the 786 here, I would much prefer to take a punt there than buying for weak bounces here, not getting the reaction I want. Okay, next we have, oh, I guess some of these are moving around because the volume's adjusting. Let's see, where did that go? We were just on Gin. We had already done Billy. Retardio. Had a request come in for Retardio. Okay, so what happened here? This was the low that created the high, creating a new high. And I closed above here into demand. But what do we have here? Right there, 4 days ago, 5 days ago. You broke structure on daily, right? You got to close below, and now we're seeing underside retest into supply and sell off. And why were these not considered the lows? Well, because they were just wicks into below demand but closed above, so it wasn't actually the change of structure. Now we have the change of structure. So what we can do is we can zoom in on the range. Now this is a shittier range because look at that wick, it's sort of distorting the whole thing. All right, like your daily range high is all the way up there, and here's your daily range low, and in danger of getting a new lower low on daily. And keep in mind, the more lower lows something makes, like consecutive high time frame lower lows, you're building in layers of supply. Same thing on in the bullish. If you keep making daily higher highs, you're building in, right? You're building in areas of demand or support along the way. This has a very strong community. I do know that. The Retardio derivatives, I believe it's a derivative of a derivative, as a good buddy of mine, Midnight, has explained to me. At the moment, It looks pretty topped. But okay, so here's your bull thesis. Let's just clean this right up. Let's remove all this. Let's start fresh. So weekly. Let's see if monthly what monthly's saying. So even monthly, you have that level. Weekly, you're into weekly demand, and that's your high time frame bullish thesis right there. Is you're looking for a weekly higher low to form to who knows where that goes up to, but on a weekly time frame, your bullish thesis is you're into demand, you're looking for a higher low and hoping. Now, hope is never a good thing to have when you're trading, but your thesis is not that this was just a deviation, this close above on weekly, and then back down. Like if I were to really look at where's the bottom of this weekly range, it's right there. Why there? So on weekly, swing points are a bit different because it's such a wide, there's usually such wide ranges within the candle that on weekly, a specific 3 candle pattern isn't usually or it isn't always the best way to look at the analysis. You just want to look at what's been happening within a weekly range. And you can see how important that weekly level is, right? Like tried to close below, closed above, held onto it, sort of sent, got really close to it here, and then went on a nice run. So you're into weekly demand. That's your bullish thesis. But daily, you're in bearish and you're in danger of breaking a new daily lower low. So how would you look if I'm already in this coin and I'm looking at it on weekly? I'm still holding. If I'm in from much lower, or even if I'm in from somewhere around here, because on a weekly time frame, you have to let that shit unfold. On daily, since we're in bearish, right? Let's redraw this so we can see when it broke. In daily on bearish, if you're looking to get on board, you take the high time frame weekly being into bullish demand, and then you start going lower time frame. Now you could look for daily, but that, you'd have to get all the way up here for it to flip bullish on daily. So there's a couple things you could do. You could wait for a range to form here and take that as your swing point on daily. And if this range here, if at one point you get a sweep above that and close below and a range is longer, if that unfolds and then you get a daily close above there, that would be your new sort of trigger. But let's just go lower time frame. Okay. So if I'm looking to get on board this, see how this is what I was just talking about on daily. On H12, it did just that. It put in a high there through this chop, swept it, closed below. What I would say is if you start getting closes above there on H12, provided it doesn't make a lower low here, if you start getting closes above there, above that level there, 72 and change million, then that would be a trigger. At the moment, though, and look, you can see how important that level was on H12. But that's what I would look for. If I'm asking myself, do I cut and then potentially get back in later? If you lose this on daily, if this creates a new lower low, you might consider cutting and looking to get in lower into this weekly demand. Because weekly takes time to play out. Like weekly could spend weeks before it actually finds the bottom. So that's what I'd look for there. Okay, Dawg had been a hot one. H12 chart here. We're in an H12 bullish range. Kind of feeling a little bit like you're going to start getting time capitulation on this one because that's already 1, 2, 3, 4. Like you're getting 4 or 5 days. Yeah, we're already in the 5th day chopping around in here. This is not the bottom of the range. The bottom of the range is here. This was just a swing level that I highlighted for someone to say, okay, I'd watch what happens there. Because people may just step in there to take a punt, which they've done, right? Like people are like, oh, let's let's capture this level. Took a punt, but it didn't go very high. This one's this one could take some time as well to play out, or it just could be time capitulation. Trouble is, if you enter here, your trade really is invalidated all the way down here, unless you say, okay, if it loses this level, I cut, and then see about trying to buy back in down here. Let's go lower time frame, see what's happening. So H4 is in bearish structure. But as we've talked about many, many times now, and I just say these over and over again to drill them in, you can be in bearish on lower time frame, but still bullish higher time frame. Something tells me this wants to come back lower. Like, did that candle right? No, okay, it held it. If this manages to close as another sweep, like if this H4 candle, which is, you have a little over 3 hours till the close, if it closes back above there, you could take a punt there, because then your risk is clearly defined if it gets below here on a close. Likewise, if you're in this, like say you bought somewhere down here, and you're like, oh, I don't know. If it loses this, I would probably cut on some sort of bounce and then reassess whether I'm still bullish if it gets down here, or if it gets back above here, maybe. If that becomes a swing high that creates the low. If it gets back above here, you look to re-enter. But right now, like, definition of diddling in the middle of a range on H12. Not overly recommended, except for the fact that you have that swing level there. How are we doing on time? Oh, okay, plenty of time. Fuku-kun. Fuck you, coin. Had a couple requests for this one, or maybe just a request for this one. Let's clean this up. Let's go see what the highest time frames are looking like. Is that a swing low? Is that a swing low? No, that's lower. Okay. You don't have too much signal there. So there. But this is an H12 bullish range, right? Even though it lost that, although it did show, look, it's tough because this is still bullish, but within that, it gave you a bearish setup, right? Close below, right up into the supply. Came into it, sold off. But the overall higher time frame trend is bullish. So let's just take a look and see where we start to see structure. I mean, one of those instances of tried to get above. It wasn't a sweep, but immediately closed back below. I'd be looking at that as a reason to get out. But hindsight is, hindsight's hindsight, not helpful. Although there's your H4 trigger. That was it right there. All right. The low that created a high, creating a higher high, close below, underside tagged. So then we just look, okay, on H4, which is the highest time frame that actually has structure, we can just take a look. There was your lower low right there. Another lower low there. Only trouble with this as a thought, actually, or this is not a thought, but this is an analysis. Yes, you got a lower low there, but where's your swing high? Your swing high is all the way here for that whole range. So it's making lower lows within that. Once it's doing that, but your top of your range is all the way up there. This is your H4 range right here that you're in right now, and it's a bearish range. So the trouble with that is, where do you look for a trigger to say, okay, maybe I want to punt this as bullish? Well, as close to this line as possible. I mean, here is fairly close, but trouble is your invalidation's all the way down here. It's a lot of chop, right? Like, look at if you want to just say, okay, I'm trying to be bullish on this thing, and I think it has more legs, Like, how would I just go about being bullish on this? What's it done here? Oh, even close below that, see? So the way that I would try to enter this would be down here. Sweep of that or tag of that with my thesis being it's just a retest of that swing point, and then you'd look for it to go back to top of the range. But keeping in mind that you have a swing point there and there, I mean, you have built-in overhead supply along the way here, right? Like this was all people buying. Anyone that didn't sell, the second level of observant or reactive traders would have sold that with people buying this, thinking it's going to go back up. And as it's selling, anyone that held from here is now for sure looking to try and get out of break even. This could just be a case of it needs to chop for a little bit longer. It's 7 days old now. 7 days old. It's kind of getting to that window where is this still an attention? It was obviously a derivative play to Nero. We'll come back to that. Okay. Or ooh. Okay, this is why daily structure is so important, right? We're in danger of creating a new daily lower low. Wouldn't touch this thing unless this just can not magically, but if this can close back above this level, then you have a thesis to go long. At the moment, it's in no man's land and free falling, in danger of putting in a new lower low on daily. I'm just trying to see where I would think. Yeah, that might be where it's trying to go. Would reassess this one later. I would not be looking to enter here. If I'm in, it's a tough call because you don't want to see your capital drop another 30% or so before it possibly finds a balance. If you start getting back up into here, you may just consider wanting to sell. Like if it gets close back up to that line, but you're getting close to the end of the day and it's still below, I would sell. Kabosu. So someone asked me to draw. Someone asked me about this, and I said, for me, the chart looks like shit, but like your last bull thesis was saying this was a tough one to draw out because look, it's so choppy in here. Where is your demand? Like on higher time frame, yes, there's demand there, but there's no swing low. I'm just like, okay, how can I find a bullish thesis in this? That would be your invalidation. What I saw here was this swing level here, because there's none along the way here. This is your swing level. So I was like, okay. And look, it had tried. Even that right there closed within. Look, all of those right there closed within. So I was like, this is your thesis right here. This is your line in the sand. And now you've got the close below. I think this is fully cooked. I would not fucking touch this. And look, even before those closes below, it was looking like underside. But there's your true underside. And the supply. And another thing, it was already below the 786. So yeah, limited thesis. I would just accept the loss on this cut if you still have capital available to it. Like if it's not completely decimated, if you still have some capital there, I would just cut and move on. 40-year-old token looks like that. It's going to take a lot to revive that. Mirror AI. It's a utility coin, one of the rare instances of getting a utility request in this market. Here's the thing. I will trade any ticker because to me they're all memes, provided the chart is giving me what I'm looking for. Now, I do not like 505 tax farms, and I think devs should have learned more after the whole utility space got blown up. But it is what it is. If we're going to have a utility season at some point, so be it. I will trade them. Just give me signs that it's bullish. This one launched yesterday, I believe. Yeah, yesterday. This to me says snipers. Like, look at that. How low of a time frame do we have to go before that's not just a sniper candle? Does M1 even give you a no? The whole thing is a sniper candle. I don't ever like seeing that. That being said, it got a bounce. Let's take a look. This one is tough to analyze because there's not really much to go off of. Let's get rid of this volume. I don't really know what I would say here because, yeah, you have a swing low here and some level of demand. So that's what you're watching to hold. Yeah, that's what I'd be watching to hold. Right? Okay, there's how the analysis I would have put. You got an H1 higher high. Why is that the higher high? It was a high that created the low. You got a high above that. Now you're retesting demand on hourly and H4. If it loses this, the thing is cooked. If it loses below there, it's cooked. But there's your H4 range. Because we can just assume that this, we can just say in our minds, let's just say all the snipers are out and that fuckery is over with. Let's just disregard that. That's how I would view that. And then, in fact, what I would do is, okay. Yeah. See, fibs and utility, I don't love. I don't really love fibs and utility. But if it holds this demand, you're good. Loses it, thing is done. Pretty sure it has taxes. 5 and 5. Yeah. Thanks, Debs. Fuck off with the taxes, guys. Like just hold on to supply. Like, really, utility projects. You want people to start buying your coins again? Fuck off with the taxes and just bundle an amount of supply, but be upfront about it with your investors that we're holding on to an amount of supply so that we can fund our project and we will sell periodically. That's a much better strategy than taxes because I don't want to fucking buy a tax coin. I just don't. I fucking hate them. Okay, moving along. Coconut. That fucking coconut. Look at that. People were super bullish on this. I was looking at it saying, I don't know. First of all, I don't want to support her in any regard. A bit of conflicting signal on this one because daily, let me make it so that this is only visible on this time frame. Daily, this is your daily demand. It's in danger of losing that now. This swing point was important, clearly. Sweep, sweep, sweeps, close above, close below, sweep, or tag, rejects. H12, you've already lost demand. You close below, underside retest, selling further. You actually got a new lower low on H12. I mean, this thing looks, it restores a little bit of my faith in crypto that we just don't want to, yes, it's a meme and who gives a shit, but also I try not to get political, but supporting retards, excuse me if that offends anyone, but it's not what I want to be doing. I'd much rather put my capital elsewhere. Yeah, I mean, it's in danger of losing daylight demand. If it closes below here, not a good sign. If it closes as a sweep, maybe, you look for a punt back to this level. But for now, not a very strong looking coin whatsoever. I would cut any bounce, to be honest with you, especially on H12, given H12 is bearish. I would cut on a bounce. Nope, didn't mean to click that. Okay, there's a couple questions that came in. PowerNaps asks, Is your minimum for invalidation trigger an hourly close below, or do you go lower timeframes? It depends on what time frame the token is that I'm looking at. If it's a daily token, what good is an hourly close? You can look through that, many times before finding the daily low. If you're on a new coin, I'd say 15 minutes is a pretty good amount of signal if you've, only got hourly ranges. But realistically, you want to be looking on the time frame you're in. I see your follow-up question about tips on closing out right at the close or waiting for the retest that may not happen. That's the gamble you have to take. You can kind of tell by how weak something looks. Like if it's coming down quite aggressively. So here's something that I would look at. Now I know I say many times that I don't really look at volume, but if you're getting a massive volume spike on selling, there is a chance that you could be finding a low. Just like a massive spike on buying into a high, there's a chance that you could be finding a high. I typically don't look at that, but it could be something to try and incorporate into your analysis. I guess what I would say as a follow-up to this is try to enter as fucking close to your invalidation as possible. Because then you're just losing a small amount if it closes below and you just walk away. Otherwise, if you're like in from 50% higher, 100%, like whatever it is, whatever percent higher you're in from, then you're just bleeding money. It's easier said than done, I know, when you're looking at something that's bullish and you're like, I need to get on board this token, like, let me get in. But that is what it is. You want to be buying as close to your invalidation as possible, which is why we look for the higher low. Someone also asked me to take a look at Sato. If we have time, we can. Did I even look at that already? I already looked at it. Just look, Super Puppy Boy. Just go back to the beginning of the stream. When it's going to be up, it'll be up. And it was the first coin we looked at, actually. I'll run through them just quickly to see anything has changed since the beginning of the stream. But if you want the analysis on Sato, just go back to the beginning of the stream, either now or when we're done, and it's there. Okay. Where were we? Zoomer. Okay, another instance of daily lower low into overhead supply showing rejection. And this is, I mean, pretty much every culture coin, the charts are looking like this. I think people just got tired of culture coins because that meta lasted longer actually than I think many people expected. It was, a couple of weeks, maybe even a month that these things were, well, let's take a look. June to July. So you had a month, over a month and a half of up only. When did we ever really get that in Solana meme markets? Pretty rare, especially lately, right? Like people are rotating so fast and it's an attention market and it's purest. So I don't know what to say about this. Like, if you're looking to enter on a daily time frame, maybe a sweep into here or a close above here. Anything around here, you're just gambling. And yes, I like gambling just like the next man, but this is not a brand new token, and the gamble risk to reward isn't the same because you're not getting that, instant pump up for a couple 100%. You're looking at this thing in 5, 10, 15, 20% moves, in which case, sure, you could jump down on the lower time frame and say you've got say you regularly gamble with like 5 or 10K stacks, then you can put punts in on these things. Like right there was an hourly trigger. The high created the low, broke the high, retest demand. And that's a good trade if you've got stacks big enough and you don't mind the risk to put in 5 or 10K for a 75% move. You're laughing. You do that all day long, right? But you have to know that you're trading counter trend on the overall higher time frame. I would say right now, likelihood is it comes back down to here, just because you're getting that Very clear rejection off overhead supply. SETI was a request from the very first show. Let's just take a look and follow up on the analysis from that. So what I had said last time was I see this very clear meme line diagonal here. And if it comes back down, that's probably where I'd punt. Well, look at what happened. We're right down into there now, coming into this daily demand, tagging the meme line. So if utility is your bag and you think this thing is bullish, this is where you'd be looking to enter. Cicada, well, there's a rug. Not necessarily a rug, just a pump and dump. It is dead. No point even looking at this. 18K market cap. Aguri-chan. Aguri-chan. Okay, it's almost a week old. Let's go lower time frame, see what we see. Well, this isn't the structure, but you did get that, and it's wicking through there. Let's keep going more. Yeah, so, well, the trouble is there's just really no structure, and it's almost a week old, and there's no higher time frame structure. Like, yes, this was an important H4 level, clearly, and it lost it. So what would it take to switch bullish on H4? Is right there. Get a close above there. There's your H4 range. Get a close back above there. Like, you can see how important that level is. Get a close above there. Then you can look to get on board right now. Right now, I wouldn't. I also feel like these derivative coins of Nero and Doge most likely pass their prime. But if it gets above here, you look to enter. Okay, so we got through all of them. Does anybody have any questions at all about what we looked at? I will open up each chart real quick and we can run through them quickly, but we're at an hour and a half, pretty good amount of time. I feel like that's a much quicker stream than we've done, which would be good for people just trying to get through these quicker. Oh, someone asked if I could do analysis on Michi in the TG. So let me just pull that up. Let's take a quick look. Yeah. It's in danger of printing a daily lower low after it printed a daily higher high. It's just a lot of chop, right? I would say it's in danger of losing this daily low. Closes below. It's probably going to, most likely it's going to go lower, potentially back down to this level. Let's take a look at weekly. What does weekly have? Okay, so there's a weekly level you could watch. I didn't take the swing point because you can see how that level was important. It never got to close below that level and reacted from there. So you could take a spot. You could take a trade if it comes down to here because it's already reacted a few times. I think maybe what you might want is, what would be a preferable thing here is if it, it's selling more. If it closes below this on daily and then it recaptures it a couple days, like 1 day, 2 days later, it like gets back and closes above there, you could take a punt off of that level. Like, closes above, either you buy immediately, although more likely you get a retest of it from above. You could take a punt off that level around 50 mil, a little above 15 mil. But right now, I'd say it really looks like it wants to come there. Hopefully that answers your question, Gulshan from the TG. Otherwise, closes back within this box, and you can look for it. Right now, it's looking pretty heavy. Oh, someone just asked for Michi, and I did just do Michi, so there you go. Does anyone have any other questions, or does everyone feel okay about all that? Do you guys even want me to go back and take a look at what's happened since? I feel like not much has happened other than probably some more selling on some of the coins, just given the state of the market right now and how slow it is. Open to any questions. We still got 8 of you here. Amazing. I do appreciate you guys showing up for these streams and sticking through and putting in the requests. I'm going to continue doing them 2 to 3 times a week. Just consistency and showing up as much as possible, helping answer questions, showing you guys what it is that I'm looking at or what I'm looking for. To be perfectly honest with you, at the moment, I'm trading very little. I had been up until a day or so ago, but the last conditions really changed about 72 hours ago, and especially after the Trump Elon interview, like sentiment has gotten real crap and the coins have been pretty crap. Like I even saw today that a Popcat launched on ETH. Like, come on, what are we doing here? Why would I want to trade Popcat on ETH? It just doesn't really make any sense to me. Which just tells me exactly what I need to know about the state of the market at the moment is that people are bored and there's not much to do. And people are getting chopped up. Oh, apologies about that. It's my kids screaming in the background. Okay. One question here. I was curious on wrapped Dawg low time frame since invalidation wick is like 40% away. What do you want to know? Power naps. Can you tell me what you want to know in regards to that? I mean, your invalidation isn't 40% away. Your invalidation on this trade is 17% away. Because it's not the wick is the invalidation. The invalidation is the bottom of the range, right? This is your H12 bottom of the range, right there. This wick isn't your invalidation. This level is your invalidation. So can you let me know whether you mean that from a perspective of trying to enter or you're already in and you don't want to give back gains? Like what can you just expand upon that a little bit so I can try and address it maybe a bit better? Oh, how to enter it? Would it just be entering as close as possible? I mean, if this is going to remain bullish, the lower it comes back down, it starts to look a little less bullish. So let's take a look at lower time frame. What do we have here? I think so. That was so there. Okay, you just look for lower time frame. There's your H1 swing high that created the low, that created the lower low because it closed below there. So you get a close above this on H1, you just look to re-enter somewhere in here. Does that make sense? It's the same thing I talk about for everything, right? Like higher time frame, you get your overall area to look for entry. Then you zoom in on the lower time frame that's acceptable for the time frame of the chart that you're looking at, and you look for an entry trigger. As of right now, you don't really have that. Like, yes, just buying down there was a good entry trigger because you're at the bottom. Like your invalidation is so clear that why not? Even though it looks like your invalidation is so close and you're in bullish trend, why not take that trade? But now, if you're looking for the confirmation to start the trend in the other direction, well, there's your H1 trigger. Get a close above there. You try and buy somewhere in here. Let's take a look at M15. M15, it's here, but this is a H12 chart, right? So it could just come up here and then come back down, right? You don't know yet. It's a little bit noisy, which is why I would wait for that. And then somewhere in here, you'd be buying not too far off from where it is right now. You're not going to get all of this if that's what you're doing, but you are going to get that if you're going with trend on the lower time frame. I hope that answers your question. So it's in the middle, diddle in the middle. I mean, yeah, diddle in the middle of the lower time frame. On the higher time frame, you're at the bottom quarter of the range, which is exactly where you want to be doing business. But if you didn't take that trigger, right now you don't know what's going to happen. It's 50-50, right? Definition of middle of the range is it could go either way. Hopefully that answers your question. Does anyone else have any questions or any other last minute requests? I can take any last minute requests as well here in the chat. We've been on for an hour and 40. I do want to wrap this up soon. I feel like we've banged through a lot of charts and okay, so saw smart money accumulate stonks these last couple of days. Could there be something there? On ETH, stonks on ETH. I don't even I don't have the ticker for that. Let me see if I can find it. I mean, generally speaking, I'm playing younger tokens. This is a how old is the token? Let's see if I can. I have ChainEDGE opened up here. Let's see if I can find stonks. If you could put stonks. Was that a new token? Because I do see that they bought $1,700 worth of it in the last 24 hours with full retention. Was that a honey? Like, let me find the contract. Let's take a look. How old is this token? Oh, it's a 100-day-old token. With 108K balance held by smart money on ChainEDGE across 6 wallets. Okay. Let's take a look at the chart. I found the contract, don't worry. Donks. Let's take a look. I mean, they could think that something is going to happen. What I see immediately was you got a daily higher high. All right. Let's get rid of those markings. You got a higher high here. All right. Why is that the higher high? It was the high that created a lower low. And then you got a daily close above. So you just have people trying to find the higher low if this is going to keep going up. Now you also have this breaker. So there's 2 areas that I would look in here, that I would look in here for a potential higher low. Either here. Now why here? Well, there's a thing called a breaker, especially on higher time frame, where you had an area of sell-off that led to a lower low. Once that flips, usually turns into demand instead of the supply that it was. Same thing on the other way. When you lose a demand zone, it flips into supply. Same thing, same principle. So you probably have buyers thinking that this is going to be the higher low. Very well could be. Here's your range. There's your daily range. It's an older token, so I don't mind fibbing just the daily range. Let's take a look. Yeah, I mean, you're into the pot. That's why you're seeing people bidding this area, right? Like, you're into the pocket here. 786 is a little bit lower. It kind of lines up with the higher high break, so it could come all the way down into there. Could there be something here? Possible. I don't know anything about the token. Looks like a meme. Viral blue chip meme about profiting from seemingly poor investment decisions. I mean, it's stonks, right? It's like that stonks meme from Roaring Kitty, right? From that whole era. 3-month-old token. Maybe. If you're looking for somewhere to enter, yeah, you're looking for a higher low here or last ditch efforts in here. How would I do that? Well, it's a daily range, so probably don't want to be on hourly. You made an H4 lower low here. So here's your H4 range. There's your H4 range. You get a close above there. You buy the retest, and there you go. At the moment, looks to be selling off a bit through here. But that's what I would look for here, is if it closes above, buy the retest, and there you go. Because what's the all-time high on this? Okay. I mean, you've got a long way to go. if your thesis is all-time high. I don't know that the market's there right now, but it could be a trade. I'm just kind of curious what size buys they were putting in on ChainEDGE on this. Let's see. Yeah, so there's been some accumulation. There's also been some selling. Like one of the top holders on ChainEDGE sold 66% of his position today and 71% over the last week. Whereas some other people have been loading up, but in smaller size. Like he had over 100K worth, and now he's down to 68K. It's something you'd be looking at. Sorry, I'm just looking at ChainEDGE on another screen, and I don't feel like going through the whole screen share swap at the moment. But from a TA perspective, you're looking for reasons to be bullish here. And if that fails, you're looking for reasons to be bullish here, right? Because you're in a bullish uptrend. You're looking for the trade to be bullish, is what I would say. Oh, did that not even show up? Oh, that didn't show up. Oh my God. Right. Okay. 1 second. Let's run that back because I know what happened. I opened it in a new panel. Okay. Sorry. My bad, fellows. Let's run that back real quick because I just fucked that up. So here, we'll run through this really quickly. Here was your higher high break. High that created the low, closed above. Now, this right here is a breaker. And this right here is your other area of demand. What I would be looking for, and here's your range. Sorry, I'm just going to go through this quickly because I just messed it up and I don't want to spend too much time. There's your range, and I do apologize about that. You're either looking, this was the breaker that I was talking about. If you just can remember back to what I was saying, it was supply that flipped into demand when it closed above right here. So you're looking for a higher low in here, and if that doesn't work, you're looking for a higher low in here. But your thesis is bullish because you've regained bullish structure. So then you switch down to lower time frame. And this is the H4 range that I was talking about right here. If you get a close above here on H4, you look to buy a retest for the higher low. Would be your confirmation on it because right now you don't know. It could just come all the way down here. Who knows at the moment? But if you get a close above this level here, you buy the retest for the higher low. And then you go. Or if this fails as a bullish thesis, your bullish thesis is still technically intact all the way down to here. So that's what I would look for. Hopefully that answered your question, Super Puppy Boy. Okay. I think we're going to wrap it up. What I'll do is I'll add that to this list and we can follow up next time. If there's any other questions, let me know. Otherwise, I do appreciate you all for joining me on the stream. It's been a fun journey so far. I think this is our 4th stream. My name is 0xRapture. Let's put up the obligatory branding. Can I add it while I'm up right now? Maybe here. My name is 0xRapture. This has been Astrology for Men. What did we call this one today? We called it Dog Days of Bummer. And, I don't like it when we feel down and markets are down, but it's, markets move in 2 directions. And today just happens to be a down day. We did find some bullish setups on some of the things we looked at. A lot of the stuff we looked at was in bearish structure, so caution. But overall, with crypto, it's better to be bullish than bearish. So you just start looking for reasons to get bullish on things. I want to thank the Daily Edge. Let me see. I need to get rid of this here. Let's hide that. I can answer this question here. Will I have a schedule for streams or just whenever? I've been doing them about every 2 to 3 days. I don't have a specific schedule for them, but I do let people know ahead of time. But the beauty is they get posted for all of eternity on the internet, on YouTube, or for however long YouTube lasts. If you're not in the Astrology for Men Telegram group, then I would recommend going in there, because I do post there before time, and that's where I pull a lot of the chart requests from. So you can just and I chat in there too. People ask me for updates on charts. Don't have a problem getting to those there as well. So make sure you join the Telegram. The link is in the description below. Let me throw up some of these obligatory banners. Don't forget to subscribe to thedailyedge.com/subscribe. Your daily newsletter sent directly to your inbox that deals with a lot of the shenanigans that have occurred on chain over the previous 24 hours. It digs into flows, where the attention is lying, written by my buddy Onchain Wizard, an OG from the space that is just really smart and has a great read on the markets. Would highly recommend, especially whether you're a ChainEDGE subscriber or not, especially if you're not a ChainEDGE subscriber, because you get a lot of the information distilled from the site there from a 24-hour bird's eye perspective, and then you can go do your research on your own. Or even if you are a ChainEDGE subscriber, it points you in the direction of where to look on the site. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment if you enjoy what I'm doing here. Always appreciate your support. Helps tell me that I'm doing a good thing. It also helps bump us up in the algo so we can try and get more and more views so that we can try and grow this channel. As well, links are in the description below. You can find links to the Daily Edge, ChainEDGE, the Daily Edge Twitter account, the ChainEDGE Twitter account, my Twitter account, Onchain Wizard's Twitter account. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube. And if you do enjoy what I'm doing here and you're looking for a new trading terminal platform, do consider using my BullX link. I'm not affiliated with them at all, but the ref link does get you 10% off your trading fees, and I do get a small kickback from anyone that uses my ref, which helps to support the show. Yeah, but that's about it. If there's no other questions, I do want to thank you all. Appreciate you all. And until next time, I'll either chat with you in the TG or we'll see you on stream. Thanks for everything, you Chads.